A festive time of year for D&B, and boy was this set above average for any given festival. We'll talk about the set, we'll listen to one of the songs from this set thanks to some awesome audio recorded, and we'll even delve into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees that just were announced as I was preparing for this show. The D&B post show stream starts now.
It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home.
What up, what up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up, what up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998, and if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Alpine is definitely a better venue than Summerfest, but we'll take it. I think I've been going to shows for about 20-something years.
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started. And I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like, I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end. And then when Roy passed.
Dave really, this is the thing. Dave has put, Rashawn has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. New Orleans, what up? Shout out to the Hot Boys. Shout out to the Revivalists. Shout out to the entire Marsalis family. Baton Rouge, what up? Lafayette, what up? Shout out Birdman. Shout out Miss Gladys. Uptown, what up? Lake Charles, what up? Shout out to all the bayous. None of them were played today, though. Gulfport, Mississippi, what up? East Texas, what up? Shout out Little Wheezy. Carter 6 coming out this summer. BG, what up? Shout out Turk. Zion, you need help. There's there could be some special things in my life that happen between now and the next time I am on the air. We're going to close out with Dive In. We have these ocean shows, but thank you guys for everything. And I look forward to seeing you guys on these live streams that will be coming up for concerts. And it's your boy Concert Viz 34. Let me get the outro video. here. We'll get that set up. And like I said, I will see you guys possibly this Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe it's a live stream. Maybe it's just a recorded video. Then once we get to the actual shows coming up, I'll be back on here and ready to go. So it's your boy ConcertViz34. Little feet, little hands, little. Hey, son. Here, I want you to take video of me. You got to practice so you can help contribute to the multicams. Here, there you go. Hold that right there, okay? Ready? Rain on my head. Yeah. Why is your hand in the way? Son, you can't put your hand there. Do you want to help out with the summer multicams or not? Son, hold it straight. You're going to have your bottle in 20 minutes. We have you on a 3-hour schedule. We're not doing 2 hours anymore. Okay, let's try this again. Get it more straight. Yes, I'm interpolating Tarzan right there. Fall back asleep. Fall back asleep. Fall back asleep. Fall back asleep. So there you have it. Some of you guys knew, some of you may have not known, but in March, my wonderful wife gave birth to our son, Miles, who is now 6 weeks old. He'll be 7 weeks old later this week. So huge life change there. And obviously I'll be talking about that more and more. And we're introducing him to music in general, not just D&B. I don't think you should just bury your kids with Dave Matthews Band and be like, they better like him. Like, listen, this kid's healthy. He sleeps 3 to 4 hours a night. It's more than I can ask for. I will say this has, as you would expect, changed my life for the better. I love kids. I've been working with kids since I was a kid, but to have a son, it's totally different. It's totally different in a good way. So welcome to the DMB post-show stream. This is, in many cases, if you guys watch college football, this is like week 0 of college football. It's week 0 because during week 0, you'll have maybe like one big matchup, possibly, but really the season starts where you have really like almost 3 or 4 really good teams playing within the conferences later, like when you get to 3 or 4 weeks into the season. So it's pre-conference play, and the band is coming together, not for a amphitheater tour stop, but for a couple of festivals. Dave will have a solo show. So we have this JazzFest performance that we just had this evening, and we have a Dave solo performance later this week. And then next Sunday we have in Charlotte, Life is Good Festival, right? I believe that's what it is. Let me make sure. Love and Life, right? So that'll be Love and Life Music Fest. Let me get that right. You know, that's how you know it's not as big of a festival when you don't, like, I know, like Lollapalooza, like it's kind of one of those festivals trying to come up, but DMB will be there Sunday. So I came into tonight not wanting to get critical on the set list, just because I knew this was a festival set, and really this setting, to DMB's credit, as much as I want deep cuts and I want all sorts of stuff, they have to play for a different crowd. They have a shorter time, and so with that, you're not going to play the Stone Dreaming Tree into, A Dream So Real. But I personally thought the 2019 version of this show was atrocious. Let's go back to that. Because 2017 was Dave and Tim. But 2019 was a lot. Well, that was before that. But this show to me was atrocious. What would you say? Anyone seen The Bridge Too Much? That's fine. Warehouse is fine. But Bayou, That Girl Is You, Stand Up, all together. Then you did have a 41, Don't Drink, whatever. But like Shake Me Like a Monkey and a Jimmy thing. And then a Watchtower closer. This is too, as when you get to a certain point, in my opinion, in your DMB fandom, you kind of just want a little more, even if you're at a festival. And like Bayou, That Girl Is You, and Stand Up all in the same set is terrible. And there was no Bayou, there was no That Girl Is You, there was no Stand Up. Like that was like, oh, okay. But we did have a Word Up cover, the first time this cover has been brought out here. And we'll listen to that in a second. Thanks to some people who were able to first thank Garrett for getting that, recording this show on Mixlr and having a great quality recording. And then I was handed this over here by one of the great tapers in this community who was able to just get this recorded and then sent over to me. So shout out to Zach as well, just to make that happen. But I think anytime you have a song like You Never Know, like that type of song in a set list like that is a gem. Alligator Pie, some people like it, some people don't, but it is a rarity. It's only been played a couple of times in the last decade. And you get that here in Louisiana, which is the perfect setting for this song. And Louisiana has a huge influence on Big Whiskey there in the Grugex King. Promotion, recordings, different things in that process of that album were tied down to New Orleans. Which brings me to my other point, which is, listen, you have one Big Whiskey song and it's Alligator Pie. That to me gives value to this set. I personally am sick of 7. I'm sick of Why I Am. I know people love these songs, but they've been played so much. All I've known is the Big Whiskey era to present of DMB live, specifically live. I've been listening to DMB since 05, the 20-year anniversary, but in person live, they played so many of those songs nonstop. But we get Alligator Pie as the only performance from Big Whiskey. We get 4 Under the Table, 4 Streets. I mean, no, 3 Streets, 3 or 4 of these crowded streets. But like to have some of these older albums be the heavier parts of this set are awesome. I thought they were going to throw up a clunker for an opener. And by clunker, I mean just something that's just not as big as Ants Marching, right? Which we talked about last year being special, how it opened up a lot more than often shows. The percentage of shows that opened with Ants Marching last year was an outlier in this current era of the band. And so to have that again at JazzFest is great. Another thing you'll notice is that this show did not have any special guests. It was a humid day. This is a Sunday, right? And so they brought Prez Hall out in 2019. They brought out Robert Randolph as well. But I'll say this. I don't think they needed a guest for this show. We've seen Robert Randolph with this band many times. We've seen Prez Hall Jazz Band. I saw them in Deer Creek, and they're amazing, but we've seen them. When you have a festival like this, you can bring them out once, but then when you come back, you want to mix it up. And we've also seen Prez Hall and Trombone. We've seen Trombone Shorty as well, who came out that last time. Let me go back to that. We've seen them come up to other parts of the country. Like I said, I saw Trombone Shorty at MSG. And many of you guys saw him in various different locations, including Gorge last year. So the band comes in, they play their own set, they play with all the members they have currently. And I think they did a phenomenal job for a first show. And this band, I know sometimes like it's hard to just come in and do a festival and not build up on something. In this band, you know, you have Jeff and has his own projects. You have Buddy who has his own things going on. And he plays as well. Music in the gospel world has different things going on. Dave, obviously, and Carter and Stefan, they have various things they do. We saw, but the point is they don't just sit for a week and a half and practice. They have other life things. They have children in college like Stefan does, and older children that are growing up like Carter, or who are adults. He's done Carter's, yeah, right. They're adults. So to come in and have this show, I'm impressed that this band can just come in and play this type of set. Especially having like You Never Know here. Having a Too Much Fake. And, you know, anyone seen the bridge? Oh, they're just going to go Too Much. Just kidding. They're going to go into Word Up. I applaud this band, even as someone who's very critical at times of the, you know, certain things the band does. You know, you may have seen me vocal last night about number 41. We have Jeff Coffin guesting, and we'll talk about that in a second. Jeff Coffin sitting in, right, with Trombone Shorty's little get together last night and slaying the sax, but we can't get that on number 41, right? But for this show, they avoided a lot of generic songs. They challenged the crowd. They had and again, I listened to this full show on Mixlr. Thank you to Garrett. So I was able to hear the audio quality was incredible there. And Garrett did this in a couple other shows just for JazzFest. So unfortunately, this will not be available, at least for the time being, for the like this leg of the tour. Maybe we'll see if Garrett does do Gorge or other West Coast shows on Mixlr, especially with Goose being at the Gorge weekend. I will let you know or share any details if he does update us on that. But this was an above average festival set. And when you go to something like JazzFest, it's not even about Dave Matthews Band. It's about the full experience and the other artists, revivalists. I love revivalists. My last show before the pandemic was a revivalist show in Connecticut at Foxwoods MGM. Right, I love them. I've seen them a couple other times. I think like two other times. I think I've been to 3 shows for them. They're amazing. And you have the Trombone Shorty, like the after parties and the other events after the festival days. And this is a festival that started at 5 on Sunday. It started at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I love that. I wish more festivals would. Some festivals do lean towards starting later. I mean, starting earlier on Sunday and ending earlier. But even like Boston Calling, the band's gonna be on around 9 o'clock, like 9:15, I think it was, or something. It's gonna be such a late night that I'm not like. Already, I wasn't gonna go with my son being here, but I'm not even thinking about last minute. But let's go ahead and play Word Up for those of you who may have been listening on a couch tour. And, shout out to the couch tour. You may have heard this. If you didn't have access to the couch tour, I do want to play this. This is Word Up. This came at, if you look at the set list there, after So Much, anyone seen the bridge? And there's Too Much Faith. That was Word Up from this recent. Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, that went to my iTunes. That's why I couldn't pause it. But that was Seek Up from the Wetlands Preserve. That was not supposed to be played. But before that, that was Word Up from tonight's JazzFest set. So here's the thing. Speaking of covers, I made a couple of jokes on X about covers and some breaking news here. Because we also, that cover... The thing with covers is, I think if this comes in, you need to rotate out a couple other ones. They played Let's Dance tonight, so obviously that's one that some people like and some people want gone. I think I'm actually shocked at the amount of people that want a Let's Dance gone, because there's some people I know who don't care as much about D&B's cover status or the amount, or like kind of, they're not as nitpicky with the set. They kind of just enjoy everything. Even they're like, Let's Dance needs to go. But I was kind of messing around here, and I said, because they did do also as well, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, Sly and the Family Stone cover. They played that. The last time they played that was actually at the Gorge. So Carter was not there, Stefan was not there, but they did play that Gorge Night 3 in 2021. I was there at that show. If you guys remember, I covered that unique kind of like, I'm at the hotel, like, I don't even know if I'm heading to the show. I think it's going to be canceled. And then all of a sudden I'm like, let me just drive down. I know people in the campgrounds will let me, chill in their RV for a couple hours. But anyway, they played it there. And then the last time they played it before that was 2015, I believe, was the previous time that they had played it. Let's just double check that on here. And this is full band plays, right? You've had some different things where, so 2015, 9/11, 2015, there. Some of these covers you'll see, like it'll be like Yukon Cornelius or Dave and Friends, or someone hops in, one of the band members hops in, like Rashawn, with another act. And so 9/3/21, that was the one that I saw at the Gorge, technically not with Carter and Stefan. And this is tonight's show here. So, I was just messing around because, like, this cover thing, I honestly would love for covers to be like the transfer portal. And you guys, if you watch sports, there are entire teams, Baylor basketball, the entire team just like transferred out. But I would love to see covers come out and covers come in. Obviously, people are chasing stuff like Don't Fear the Reaper. There's some rare runs, Cortez, Down by the River. But like, honestly, I would love to see this thing be like, push a couple covers out, push some in, and see how they go. And I was just messing around. I said, breaking news. The D&B Brickhouse cover has entered the transfer portal. And thank you for letting me be myself again. Has transferred back to D&B with 1 year of eligibility left. We are still waiting the NIL contract for it. Thank you for letting me be myself again. And that returning. And if fans will be allowed to interpolate lyrics from it during So Damn Lucky. I spoke to Sledgehammer's agent moments ago, and they are worried about playing time with this deal. And I think you should. If you're Team Sledgehammer, I think it's gonna, another couple covers coming in and coming back is gonna do that. But honestly, I want this band to cover their music. They're gonna obviously always do covers. I just prefer for them to do less because I think they have an incredible catalog. I think bands that are growing their catalog or want to build new fans or have to grow their fan base, they're going to have more covers. But DMB, y'all established, y'all have done everything. You even made the Rock Hall. What else is there to do? So another thing, Jimmy Thing. During Jimmy Thing, if you were not able to hear audio or watch a live stream from a fan, during Jimmy Thing, Dave during the chorus kind of said to a fan, like, hey, no, he said they're singing the last chorus before the jam, he kind of starts singing and then cuts off his singing as the band's playing, says, hey, someone needs help over there. Someone needs help over there. And I thought that was just an amazing thing. I talked to a couple of fans, some that, live in what you would consider the South, some who, like my friend Jessica, she can't come on, who spend a lot of time in the Florida, in the humidity, visiting friends and family that live down there. And they said it was humid and it was hot. And Dave also mentioned it's not just the heat, it's the humidity. And so it was interesting to just see that Dave was able to notice that as he's playing, and none of the music did not stop. But he made sure that people got over to that person to help and that they were able to get away. And I thought that was just the class act, and the talent and experience that he has is shown there to be able to play and have your band play as you're directing for someone to get help and not even stop the music. I mean, more veteran bands all the time stop the music and do that, but like he was able to just get the help while they're playing. So a pretty cool moment there. But You Never Know is the standout, to still get a Nancy's, to still get, like I said, Alligator Pie. This is a festival. You can't expect crazy things, but You Never Know is a crazy thing. And so I hope Charlotte has, you got to have some of these staples that are more hits, but I hope Charlotte has the same type of blueprint. That's really a best case scenario, because, and also think about this, No Space Between. I like Crash Into Me, but they didn't play that, right? They could have added a You and Meh here. They could have added a couple more just like so-so songs, in my opinion, that are just major hits. And the crowd react. I always am just aware that the crowd's going to react to a Watchtower closer. I don't want a Watchtower closer, main set, or if they did an encore. They did that last time at JazzFest. but that's going to get the crowd going. But they say, you know what, we're going to do a little bit of here, a little bit of there. And so if the band, I don't even know if they're watching this. If you're watching this, I thought you guys did an incredible job listening to like pretty much taper audio on Mixler from Garrett. He had whatever whatever rig he had, it was just phenomenal. They sound great for the first show back, and they challenged themselves again. You Never Know goes into some like mini jam, and Almanac has it as a rim intro. And yes, it's When the World Ends, a song I never want to hear again, but they're gonna play it. But to have that kind of uniqueness, even though it did go into When the World Ends, like that's pretty cool. Whether that was a mistake or whether that was improv, like they did some pretty cool stuff to kind of do a too much fake and think everyone's thinking too much and do word up, to have a gator pie there, to have You Never Know, and then to have that rim intro into Carter's messing around on the rim of the drum into When the World Ends, and then to be a professional as Dave is into Alert Help during Jimmy, right? And then the thank you be switched out to compared to Brick House. And that's the thing. I'd rather have thank you than Brick House. I think at some point I'd get sick of thank you if it keeps being played. Again, I'd always rather have no covers, but the part of like a good portion of the fan base is going to be happy about the thank you coming back, because they chant it all the time at shows. So if that is actually back, which I think it will be, if they're doing this at JazzFest, you're gonna see it this summer. I think it's an upgrade, a slight upgrade from there. I will at some point dive more into Live Track 69, maybe with the Houston show and Charlotte. And if you're going to those shows, let me know. I did have some trouble getting someone on tonight. And so, and a lot of people with Jazz Fest, it's hot, it's humid. People are trying to get food. There's a lot of people out there leaving this festival. With the earlier kind of end of festival, you have more people leaving a festival at dinner time, late dinner time, right? So it's like, 6, 7 o'clock or 7:30, 8 o'clock. That's people having their late dinners in a city that's very festive and full of tourists right now. But hopefully I can get someone on. If you're doing the Dave Solo show, please hit me up. Love to get your reaction out there in H-Town for that show. And then also same thing with Charlotte. If you're going to Charlotte and you want to come on the stream, if you want to send a video, if you want to just send me text, let me know. And Robin said, he was using a Shure MV88 Plus microphone. Oh, awesome. So yeah, he knew what he was doing there. And again, we appreciate that, because we have our tapers that do tape these shows, and but many times they have to just tape it, get it back. But to be able to, for Garrett to have the expertise and skills to record this with a solid mic, and then also have it live at the same time, and then have this audio preserved and work back stage with some of the tapers in this community to have that audio, potentially, we'll see what happens with it, but we'll see if we can get the full tape out or what will happen. Right now, again, I don't know. And please don't ask anyone, just let it, if it's set up to be ready for the public, it'll be out. It'll be at the bare minimum on Dreaming.org. I saw Connor and a couple other people. There was a set list game fiasco because the Ants marching kind of was like setting it up, like the closing time of putting your picks in was like 7:30, because that's most times when a show's announced time starts, or right before they were about to go on stage. So there were people allegedly in the Ants marching set list game that because it's 7:30 Central Time, that you could change it. It didn't get changed right away. They were just adjusting their set list as the first couple of songs were being played. So, but again, I say this with the Almanac, they have And I also say this now as, listen, I got a newborn in the house. Not only have they, some of them have kids, major job changes, major life changes, but they can't just necessarily get to the app or get to the screen right away because of the many things that have as responsibilities they've grown with in life, right? They start off this, ants marching starts, and you're younger, you have more energy, you don't have as big of a family, maybe you don't have a family, like you're not married or anything at all, but the creators of the almanac, the different people that work behind the scenes, they can't always get to that, and this was just an error. It is what it is. There, Connor says the winner changed his picks to the first 6 songs. Oh, okay. So they just switched those 6 songs there. There. And Connor, just the biggest difference is, again, the almanac is a larger group of people. It's a larger collective, and I'm blessed to know, these the crew that runs this, and have been able to, talk to them, hang out with them. But they're a much larger group of people, and they have backups, and they've also trained people to kind of, hey, you take this. They can take different nights, and Henry's come on and talk about that. Like, there's some nights where Henry's at the show, someone else will do the actual set list so he can enjoy the show. So it's just, it's a different thing for Ants, which was, I believe I met one of the guys last year at SPAC, but it's only really 2 people that are behind that. And obviously they have mods and other people, but it's a different, there's less personnel that can stop and say, hey, I know what I'm doing. Let's stop. So I give grace, because everything in this community right now is for the most part fan driven. Someone that was asking about the DMB hub on Reddit, and why don't they have one for Android, and why doesn't the band have this? The stuff for this band, to their credit, this band gives a lot of freedom. You think about Copperpot, other video recorders, and now I've been doing videos. They don't copyright strike us, and they try to do things to help. Like when Copperpot's in trouble, they try to help the band, them, like the management, things like that. So they allow for this to be ran by the fans, but fans are not. This is not the full-time job, and there's no money in doing this. Like, even if it was just views alone, there's no money in doing. You're doing this because, and like, yeah, you should do it for love of the game. But like, if you want servers to be ran right, and you want things to be like have more personnel, you have to pay people for that. And all of this stuff is really ran on a couple minor donations in Ants and Almanac, and the Almanac they don't really even need your money. Like, it's just an option, right, to donate. But like, when you don't have, like, whereas if management ran this, if the band had people they paid to do this, which is their right, it's up to them, right? And they've given us so much, but they haven't invested in apps and different things. Like, where Phish, same management company, right, but different people assigned to it, and different level of what they hire in-house for Phish there. Speaking of that, speaking of Phish, I wanted to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So if you're watching this live, or watching this on replay, I will chapter this out so you can skip it if you're not a fan of Phish. But I think this issue is beyond what just if you're a DMB fan. It has to do with the Rock Hall, and I kind of have from other genres because DMB didn't get in. Those are 2 separate things, because I believe the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should be more than just rock and roll. And really, that title does not define Dave Matthews Band or Phish. They have such a unique sound, and they transfer across genres that they're not just rock and roll. Like, they're not traditional rock and roll. So really, if it was just rock and roll, none of them should, like, DMB shouldn't get in, Phish shouldn't get in. And DMB has got in on the second try. But this Hall of Fame, just like Geico used to be a government employees insurance company. That's why it's government employees Insurance CO is company. That's what Geico stands for, if you didn't know. Geico then eventually said, we're just going to make this, we've grown so much, we're going to open this up to anyone, and you can get coverage instantly. And you can get pretty good rates. You may not get as good service, but if you want cheap insurance, Geico. 15 minutes can save 15% on car insurance. So the Rock Hall made the right decision by saying, we're going to honor all music, and really rock and roll. People are mad at blue, like all these other genres getting in. Rock and roll comes from the blues of the Deep South. Like, rock artists were listening to blues artists and jazz artists. So nonetheless, even rock and roll, like, oh, they shouldn't get in. All this stuff comes from a lot of the popular music stems from the music of the early 1900s, and a good chunk of that stems from African-American children and descendants of slaves and other people in America of various walks of life, of this melting pot, making music that inspired all these genres in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and et cetera, right? So I say that to say I'm glad that Outkast is in, Tribe Called Quest getting in last year, right? I don't mind that there's pop and R&B and different things like that. And I'll tell you this, on a personal level, Chris Cornell being part of Soundgarden getting in this year is I probably will cry. I'm not gonna lie. I probably when Soundgarden gets inducted, I probably will cry. So I'm happy for the artists that got in, the White Stripes. Like, I'm not gonna bash these artists. And Chris Cornell, everything he's done, I have. I can't find it, but I just bought Temple of the Dog on vinyl. So anything Chris Cornell, I love. He was a huge inspiration in my teenage years when Audio Slave was popping. So this is not a knock on the people who got in, and congratulations to those who got in. This is a frustration on the Rock Hall being a country club more than it is an open forum to give any musical artist a chance that has a unique background or DNA to get in. That's what frustrates me. And we saw what DMB got in last year, but we saw anonymous ballot voters bash DMB and say, I know they're popular and they got a bunch of people showing up to their shows and they've innovated so many different things, but I'm a hater and I'm not voting for them. Like, that's stupid. I would vote for artists that have the qualifications to get in. Just like if I'm a Yankees fan and I'm a baseball writer, I'm voting Pedro Martinez in. If, like, obviously he's in, right? But like, I'm going to vote a Red Sox player who checks off the boxes or has something that just is very special in their career or their stats, all that stuff combined. I'm voting them in. And I know baseball is stat driven. This is kind of a subjective thing, right? But to me, I am frustrated with just the country club atmosphere for a music industry who's like, oh, we're going to stand up against injustice. And listen, hey, by all means, like, hate, there's no room for hate or racism and all, none of that stuff. I agree. But then you're going to turn around and punish bands like Dave Matthews Band and Phish just because they are not, they don't fit the mold of what you personally like. You got to look at this as the impact. You got to look at this as far as the consistency, and you got to look at this as far as the challenge that it is to have a different set list every night. And for Phish in particular, because DMB does that, but Phish takes it to another level. The improv and the changes and the modifications that jam bands like Phish have, and Phish really doing that in a way to push forward this genre, post Grateful Dead, being a band that can sell out arenas and amphitheaters and do 3 nights at Deer Creek and 3 nights at Alpine and have a fan base that sticks around. That should be honored. So I said this, this is what I said earlier, and let me just slide my face over here so you guys can see this. All right, I'll put myself over here. All right, so I said, this is what I said, and I kind of delayed the show start because I was like trying to figure out what was going on with Phish not getting in. I knew this was a possibility, but I said, welcome Phish fans to the club where you win the fan vote, which is one ballot towards hundreds of ballots, but the rest of the Rock Hall voting base wants you to suffer through more noms for no reason. And no chart topping sales and hits, sales like records are not going to help you because DMB had that. DMB had a number 1 album record stat. They had sold the most tickets outside of the Grateful Dead. As far as you look at the last 40 years, like a couple years ago, it was like 40 years prior to a couple years ago. Outside of the Grateful Dead, the second most was Dave Matthews Band. And so even if Phish had hits, even if they had if they didn't have these hiatuses and still sold all these more tickets, it still wouldn't have got them in the Rock Hall because the Rock Hall, they want these, really what it comes down, they want you to suffer. And I saw this now Rush, I don't believe they won the fan vote like this and got snubbed because DMB was the first in the fan vote era. DMB was the first, but Rush is another example. How do you not, as a musician, how do you listen to Neil Peart as I did 10 years ago? 10 years ago, I went to a Rush 40 tour and finally saw Rush. There was another time plans fell through. Someone was supposed to claim a ticket for me, a family friend, and they were sick and I couldn't go to the show. And so I finally saw Neil Peart in his last tour, and he was still phenomenal. But how do you wait until Neil Peart is near, like, in the final years of his life for them to get into the Rock Hall? It's because you're a hater. If you know anything about music, you should be able to appreciate Neil Peart. And so I just don't. I understand it's their right? It's their right to do what they want. But I just find it ironic that this industry and the powers that be that are voting in this Rock Hall nomination process, they are fighting different injustices in the world. But then they turn around and are the same jerks and ignorant. They have ignorance and bias. Like all the comments are like, that I've seen that are anonymous are just like, well, we don't really want them in this time, or that's kind of the mindset with any sort of music. Even if you look at like Pink Floyd, right? And there's other examples of stuff like, how do you not just appreciate this art, or just appreciate for Phish, they play a different set every night. They'll play the same. Just, I know if you know jam bands, this is what every jam band almost does, but they'll have a different even chord progression. They'll play Sand for 30 minutes, or they'll play Sand for 10 minutes. And they'll have a dark jam, right? One night, and then another night there's some bright major chords. The same song, different type of jam. They communicate through the music, not through their lyrics. And so just the idea of what they do in an era where, even if you go back to like 15, 20 years ago, yes, you had lights out performers, but they're performing the same set every night. And for Phish to not only perform a different set every night, but to still have fans in 2025 paying for shows, to go to the Sphere, which is a high ticket event especially for the economics and the money that an average Phish fan has, and to fill up that place, to say, oh, we can get a bunch of fans to go out to the Sphere and spend $1 bajillion for a fan base that's used to paying very, very low face value tickets, which is a great thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but even the Phish fans showed up for the Sphere. To have unique, creative festivals that have all sorts of gags and different things, and to even come up, like the mind of Trey Anastasio, to take Gamehenge as a college project, right? And then put it into music, and then to say, hey, I'm going to shelf this for a bunch of decades and I'm going to bring it back New Year's Eve. None of that is, and again, I'm a fan of Phish. I can't tell you like, oh, this show in 2.0 is the best. Like I'm not there. And honestly, I don't see myself going to more than 2 or 3 Phish shows a year, even if they had a bunch of shows near me. I just don't think I could do it. But I respect what they do, the innovation, the creativity. When you take time to actually do research and listen and study, as a journalist, as a person in power in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you should be able to say, this isn't my cup of tea, but what they're doing is worthy of getting into the Rock Hall. But music is subjective, and this is their country club. The best advice I can give to Phish fans is don't bash the other musicians. I was extremely upset when a very small percentage of DMB fans, but nonetheless, DMB fans were bashing other acts that got in. Don't do that. You can continue to be upset about it. You can continue to put pressure on the Rock Hall. It may not work right away. And really, I think Phish, what may happen, just like DMB, there's going to be a year where they're going to need they're going to like, oh, there's a little bit more open space for an act that has a solid traveling fan base to show up, and boom, Phish is on the ballot and Phish gets in. I think that's exactly what happened with DMB. Last year, they were like, oh, all right, yeah, we kind of got this opening and we're putting DMB back on. And oh, hey, we had DMB as the prime time act at the end of this show that ran over way too long anyway. And that crowd was nuts for DMB had all the people I talked to, had all the fans. Now, regardless, these Rock Hall things are going to sell out because there's just so many big fan bases. But I think that's what they may use, if just for that, or they just may, hey, 1 year we're just going to do it, right? We're gonna let them suffer and think about it for 5 years or 3 years, and then we'll finally get Phish in. But it is what it is. That's just my thoughts on the whole Phish thing. No poster tonight. No other real things as far as that. This was just a kind of a light night. Great way to start off for the band. I think this format, play a show. It's like a preseason. It's like a preseason football game, or it's like like I said, it's really like an NCAA week 0, because it does really count. Like, it's not like they're just practicing. Like, they did practice last night, but it's not like they're just practicing in having backups come in. Like, you're getting the full DMB experience. It's a festival. So you're not going to have like when I went to Tampa last year, and even Tampa last year was kind of still a warm up, but there's always a possibility of certain songs coming in and coming out. And that Tampa show, we got Typical, Drunken Soldier showed itself yet again, saying, hey, it's going to stick around for this year. And a So Right, I believe, in the encore, which was phenomenal. So you get something like that when you have a full band show to start off a year. And sometimes you get like a 2010 Hartford. Those first 2 Hartford shows just lights out to start off a tour, bunch of liberation. So the band itself will be able to just fine tune some things tonight, and then next Sunday, Dave will have a Dave solo show just to kind of still get some reps in. And I think when you head to Bethel Woods, you're going to have a band that's had some travel practice, had some, some practice at festivals, and they're going to hop into an amphitheater, a beautiful amphitheater out there, and have a ball. Check if you have a hotel for Bethel Woods. Please call them. Please be in constant follow up, check, especially the week before, the week of. Check in because there is a strike of correctional officers in upstate New York, all of New York, full state of New York. So National Guard, I think other military, I want to say National Guard, I believe it is, they are taking up hotels across the state of New York. Some of the areas where Bethel Woods is and Woodstock, those nearby hotels have limited capacity or limited. They essentially had to cancel regular patrons for the National Guard because these prisons need law and order, and the National Guard is stepping up. So just FYI, check with that. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to close out this show. We'll see how well it plays. This will be available later this week in the individual form, and I'm happy to announce the Night 2 show for Dave and Tim in Mexico will be out, aiming for Friday, this upcoming Friday. It'll be out in its full form, but a little bit before that, we'll get you we'll get you this ants that you're seeing right now. This is the ants marching bluegrass style here with Sierra Hall and her amazing band. And let me just shout out some of the creators. Oh, I'm supposed to see that. Shout out to these people because they were these are the following video sources for this video, which I'll have on the final cut of this: Ainsley Snap, Karen Berry, Katie Browder, YouTube Swiss MT59, Tanya on YouTube, and then Tangora Joel from X all participated in this. But this is Ants Marching. This is Ants Marching from Dave and Tim Mexico Night 2 with a violin, guys. I know you guys want that violin to come back. Bring the violin or else. It's here. So let me go ahead and play this. And thank you guys. Your boy Conservist34. I'll see you guys for the Dave solo show if I can get a guest. But I should still be on for that regardless. And then also I'll see you next Sunday for Charlotte. Shout out to CLT. There. All right. Peace.
I'm just going to look around. Miss the old thing.
up and die. Driving along this highway, all these cars end up on the sidewalk, people in every direction. No words exchanged, no time to exchange when all the little lamps of my shade, red and black and tin are waving. We all do it the same. We all do it the same way. Candyman attempting the thoughts of a sweet tooth, the torture of a weight loss program. Cuts in the corners of loosen, cut on the fence, could not do a thing. Cut. Say these chances, place them in their box until a quieter time. Lights down, you up and down. Avery and Sean, Avery Merritt and Sean Richardson.